How do we know what's around us? How is it that we tell if we're in danger? Typically, we use our senses like sight and sound. We see cars driving by and know not to cross the street. We hear an angry voice and we know to avoid them. But in 2019, about 3.4 billion pounds of toxic emissions were created in the United States. We can't see or hear gases, much to your surprise, I'm sure, but they can definitely affect our health, causing symptoms from irritation of the lungs, eyes, or throat to coughing, to an extra risk of developing cancer or leukemia if exposed to these chemicals over long periods of time. So how do we know where these dangerous chemicals are? Our methods of measuring and tracking toxic emissions are still imperfect, but we have found some trends. Toxic emissions vary from country to country, depending on their available technologies, but today we'll be focusing on the United States to get a specific example of problems caused by toxic emissions. In the United States, Alaska has the largest amount of toxic emissions due to high amount of metal mines, followed by Utah, Nevada, Texas, and Louisiana. However, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA's, risk screening environmental indicators, this does not match the states with the greatest health risk. Texas has the greatest health risk due to toxic emissions, followed by Pennsylvania, Oregon, Ohio, and Illinois. However, throughout the country, toxic emissions are unequally distributed in areas with ethnic minority and lower class households. It's not always clear what came first, whether plants that produce emissions are built in areas where mostly minorities live, or whether facilities are built first and cheap housing near them attracts lower income households. In fact, the cause may vary from place to place. But either way, disadvantaged communities unequally bear the weight of our air pollution, and it's a problem we need to address. The field of study surrounding this problem and the social movement dedicated to fixing it is called environmental justice. We're going to be taking a more in-depth look today at Houston, Texas. Originally, I planned to look at Houston in particular because I live in the Houston area. I hadn't realized how important environmental justice is right here at home, but after doing the research for this video, I'm surprised I haven't heard more about it. Harris County is rated as the county with the highest risk due to emissions by the EPA's RSEI score. Number 1 out of over 2,000 counties. Montgomery County, where I live, is ranked number 14 overall. Not to mention, Texas is the state with the most cancer-causing chemicals released into the air, toxic chemicals released into the water, hazardous waste generated, and carbon dioxide emissions. Houston in particular is considered the energy capital of America by some, in part due to it being a hub of activity for petroleum companies. Valero, ExxonMobil, and Shell are just some companies who have petrochemical plants in Houston. Toxic emissions from these chemical plants, along with metal manufacturing plants and other facilities, released a total of 8.4 million pounds of potentially dangerous chemicals in and near Houston in 2019. Houston is the city with the most mercury, formaldehyde, benzene, and butadiene emissions in the United States, which are all toxic chemicals. And the communities that are most in danger are the counties that are closest to the plants that produce the chemicals, which consist mostly of disadvantaged communities. The Houston Ship Channel, including communities such as the Harrisburg-Manchester neighborhood, is heavily affected. Children living within 2 miles of the Houston Ship Channel are 56% more likely to develop leukemia, which has been linked to oil refineries and chemical plants. Not to mention, environmental justice issues are also affected by other major events. At least 17 peer-reviewed studies have correlated prolonged exposure to air pollution with an increase in deaths due to the coronavirus or an increase of severity of coronavirus cases around the world. This again leaves minority communities more vulnerable. In addition, about a month ago, in February 2021, Texas went through a period of freezing temperatures that people were not prepared for, leading to an electricity crisis. chemical plants released hundreds of thousands of extra pounds of air pollution with little predicted legal consequence, since extra emissions can be ruled unavoidable by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality in extreme weather conditions, which is called an affirmative defense. These extra emissions, again, will affect an unproportional amount of ethnic minorities and lower-class households. And this has happened before, during other extreme weather events, such as Hurricane Harvey in 2017, when companies released 6 months' worth of extra air pollution in a few days, as said by Alina Kraft of the Environmental Defense Fund. So what are people doing about this? Organizations that are dedicated to fighting for environmental justice in the Houston area include the Texas Environmental Justice Advocacy Services, Air Alliance Houston, Environment Texas, Houston Peace and Justice Center, Transition Houston, and Sierra Club Houston Regional Group. These organizations support environmental justice through educating people on environmental justice and legislation surrounding it, providing resources to affected communities, and pushing legislation that will protect communities. TEJAS also provides toxic tours through the east end of Houston, which is heavily affected by pollution, and it educates individuals, school groups, science networks, and government officials alike. Also, Environment Texas's Texas Clean Air Project has been pushing for proper regulation of emissions through lawsuits against Shell's Deer Park Refinery and Chemical Plant, Chevron Phillips Baytown Chemical Plant, and now ExxonMobil's Baytown Refinery. Just a couple of weeks ago, on March 2nd, 2021, ExxonMobil was given a $14.25 million penalty for violating the Federal Clean Air Act at this facility. Environment Texas also recently developed a service called Neighborhood Witness for Texas residents that alerts them if a company in their county reported that they may exceed permit limits. The alerts provide how much extra pollution is expected, why, and what actions are being taken by this company to remedy this. You can sign up to receive alerts on their website, neighborhoodwitness.org. Outside of organizations working to achieve environmental justice, we can each contribute. Raising awareness is the first step. My challenge for you is to look up an organization that is focused on environmental justice where you live and tell someone about it. That's it. If this is a topic you want to explore, consider supporting your local organizations or doing some further research. The sources I used during this video will be linked in the description if you want to check them out. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you are now equipped with just a bit more information and curiosity than you were before. If you enjoy my videos, please like this one and consider sharing it with your friends. Oh, and here are some of my other videos to check out. Thank you, and see you later.